Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschartya Desha Tarine Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Om Tat Sat. So, Hare Krishna devotees, today we are going to see from Brahma-saṁhitā, 40th verse. So, I'll read the verse. Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadanda kotishvashesha vasudha vibhuti bhinnam tad brahma nishkalam anant tad brahma nishkalam ananta asesha bhutam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose effulgence is the source of the non-differentiated Brahman mentioned in the Upanishads, being differentiated from the infinity of glories of the mundane universe, appears as the invisible, infinite, limitless truth. Okay. Okay, so this is So the Brahma is nicely explaining about the Supreme Personality of Godhead's various potencies. So in this particular verse, he talks about the, what do you call, the Brahman feature of the Supreme Personality of the Godhead. So if you really see, the world has different philosophy of what is God. So the Vaishnava philosophy has, the philosophy that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is one who is separate from the others, other jivas, and there is this other concept that everything is one. So that we call it broadly Dvaita and Advaita. So this fight is eternally going on in the material world, where people try to prove that, the Lord is only form, and the other group are trying to explain that the Lord is actually formless. He doesn't have a form. And then there are also in between these two in different ways, like, even in the personalism, there are two categories. Dvaita and Visishta Dvaita, like that. There are many things like that. Visishta Dvaita, like that, is there. But and then the main category is that there's the Lord is actually not formless. So this is going on, but 99% of the population generally believe that the God is formless. Because the problem in their thinking is, what they think is the problem is, if you are thinking the God has got some form, then that is sort of limiting the Lord. Here also. So that's sort of like, if you give a form, for example, if you say the Lord has a hand, then the hand has a defined size, right? It cannot be like whatever. It cannot be 100,000 miles or whatever. But if you say formless, then it is all encompassing. This is their very, if you have to apply logic in the way we understand logic, that is how they think about it. Therefore, why to limit the Lord with a form? This is their philosophy. Why to limit the Lord with a form? And he is not limited, and therefore, let us not assume that he has a form. It is something which is not correct. The Lord is formless. He is present everywhere and anywhere, and things like that. An extension of that is everything is him. Therefore, kind of a thing. But the Vaishnava philosophy is very clear. The Lord is independent of all the other jivas. The Lord eternally exists, and the jivas also eternally exist. So in this, the Lord very clearly makes known, and he says, "You and I have always existed." In the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he says, "You and I have always existed in the past, are existing in the current, and we will exist in the future also." So what does this mean? That in the past means it is not about my last Janma or the previous Janma. The entire past, which means the time from which I started or time immemorial. That is past. All of that is together considered as past. And current, of course, I am separate and I can see the Lord is separate. Nobody can claim that, now I am. I mean, people are claiming that's a different thing. The third one is in the future. When you say in the future, that doesn't mean, okay, after I die, for example. People say after I die, I am liberated and I merge into the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But there also, when you say future, this is eternity of the future. It is not like only for this Janma or for this body, for example. If I leave the body, then I merge into it. It's not like that. So Prabhupada explains, Krishna in this already has explained, you are not the body. So he is actually talking about the soul. So now you think for the soul, it is being said that in the past, the soul has been separate. Currently, the soul is separate from the Lord as it is living in a particular body. And tomorrow in the future, whether the soul takes another body or actually gets liberated and goes into either the Brahma Jyoti or spiritual world or whichever, it remains separate from the Lord. So this is the concept of the Vaishnavas. And of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and gave another, basically he resolved these two conflicts that we will come to in some point in time. So this particular verse, it says, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose effulgence is the source of the non-differentiated Brahman mentioned in the Upanishads. So now we are trying to understand then what is that? How is it that these people are able to, what are they claiming to be God? That has been explained here. So if you see all the major scriptures, Vedas including, they talk about, when they talk about the Lord, they may not exactly say as Krishna. Of course, in Bhagavatam, every word clearly distinguishes like that. But if you see in a lot of Vedic scriptures, the words are Brahman, Brahman, Brahman. So that when the word is used as Brahman, people immediately think that, that is one kind of a synonym or something which is descriptive of something else like that. So what is that Brahman is being differentiated. It's been discussed here by Lord Brahma himself is saying that Brahman is nothing but the effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We see that, we can easily understand this. We can see there are some devotees who are really, very strong in their practice. They are very, advanced. And when you see them, it's like, there is some kind of a brightness around them. Wherever they are illuminating. So many times we get this feeling that even in Prabhupada's pastime, there was one pastime where someone actually suddenly saw Prabhupada was sitting in one place and then there were many devotees sitting around him. And I don't know whether it is a he or a she, but I remember this incident when that devotee is narrating. I just suddenly go and see there, and I'm seeing that there is a big effulgence in that place, and Prabhupada is like glowing like anything, and everybody around him, all his disciples, whoever were there, were all glowing. And they felt at that point in time that I am not in this material world. These people are all not from here. That kind of a feeling that person got. That basically is the effulgence of the pure devotees of the Lord, which we can even see in so many aspects. Some people who are sincerely practicing certain things. You will see in all classes of humans also, there are some people who are ready straightforward. In a sense, their practices are advanced. Then you sort of get a energy around you which is just bright and glowing, and others feel, how come that like this? And when you get around such people, you feel very, very much soaked into their energy. So if this is the case for an ordinary human being, just think about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in his presence, there's a huge effulgence. In that effulgence, everything gets drowned. There are many occasions we have seen even in Brahma-saṁhitā, when we were in Bhaning Bhagavatam classes, I was discussing during Sati, Parvati's, Parvati, Lord Shiva was humiliated, and then Daksha was performing this yajna, and Parvati Shati comes there, and then she doesn't get respect. So during that time, after the yajna was over, the Lord comes out of the, in accepting their yajna, he comes out, and all the personalities sitting there are all very effulgent. All the topmost rishis, Brahma, everybody sitting there. And when the Lord appears, the Lord's effulgence is so much that it dims the effulgence of the others. So this is the fact about this effulgence. Now this effulgence is seen as the actual Supreme Personality of Godhead by this the other kinds, the type of devotees who do not give lot of form. So it's not their mistake. It is just that their eyes are blinded by the effulgence. So actually, many Vaishnava acharyas have sung. I'm not able to quote that verse, but they say, "Oh my Lord, please remove the effulgence which is dazzling and it is blinding my eyes, so that behind the effulgence I can see your personality." So the person Govinda, Shama Sundara, he is actually sitting there right behind that. But he is so bright that the eye is not able to go beyond that effulgence brightness. And therefore, behind that, we don't go. And the impersonalist, so they think that is the end. The end point is I just go and soak into that effulgence, and then I merge into that effulgence. And in that sense, I became God. Here it is very clearly said, this is the source of the non-differentiated Brahman. Non-differentiated Brahman. He is the source of this non-Brahman, of the Brahman, which is non-different from him, being differentiated from the infinity of glories of the mundane universe. So when you can see this Brahman is not material, but it is spiritual. But it is not, you can't relate that to the sun or the moon. It's not, that is not that brightness. It is actually the spiritual brightness, but at the same time, it doesn't seem to have a form in the mind of these people. If you see, for example, Prabhu has prepared this presentation. If you see, at least, the belief is that there are, as I talked about these two categories, the personalists and the impersonalists. The impersonalists, sometimes we refer to them as Mayavadis. Their thought is that, what I mentioned, that the Lord is a Brahman, and that Brahman can actually manifest in any form. So therefore, you start seeing everything as a personality of Godhead, and and everything and anything can become God. You should be able to have that kind of mood like that. So the example generally believed to be is Adi Shankara and his followers are supposed to be those who are impersonalists. Impersonalists in their philosophy, that is, they believe the Lord is an effulgent feature, and that you cannot give a form to that Lord. So this is there, but we can also see that Adi Shankara himself actually talked about Bhaja Govindam, where he says he's accepting that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But it's a very deep philosophy. We can't go and try to argue that, because today these are the two divisions which keep on eternally debating this topic. But I think beyond a point, there's you have to experience by understanding through the technology of parampara. Otherwise, there is no end to our speculation. So it's very, very clear. At the same time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he came here, he tried to reconcile both of these things. That is, he actually said both are true. It is true that the Lord is formless, but that formlessness is actually subordinated to that form, and they are simultaneously and inconceivably different and non-different. So that is Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva. Achintya is inconceivable. Achintya. Beda means this the Lord and the soul are different. Beda means different. Abeda, they are non-different. That means these two are not different. Abeda Tattva is the philosophy, which means not just the the jivas or whatever, the entire creation is actually different and at the same time non-different. That is how we can see the Lord is all pervading, but at the same time, that doesn't mean he is sitting in this wall, just that he's only in this wall. He's, yes, of course, in this wall, But that doesn't mean he is permanently in this wall or anything. It is his energy which is in this wall. That is how we understand it. The energy and the energetic. The energy is sitting somewhere, that is in the Goloka Vrindavan, and his energy is reaching out to all the places around here. But that doesn't mean that, therefore, he can only be the energy and not the energetic. When there is no energetic, where is the question of energy? This is the concept, very basic concept. Where is that energy coming from? If you are simply saying Brahman is that feature of that some light, whatever, where is the source of that light? So that question comes up. So it is not difficult to understand that the Lord is a person and he is also all pervading, and in that for he is the same. So I can also conclude that, this entire earth is him. It is him in the sense it is his energy. Right? If I am speaking, many people, if supposing my audio is played and people who have heard my voice, they say, this is Vidura Madhava Das. But where is Vidura Madhava Das there? It is just some vibration of air is coming, and in that some voice is being heard. But that is not Vidura Madhava Das. Vidura Madhava Das is sitting somewhere else. But it is just that energy of him is getting captured and converted in the tape case where we are talking about. But in the case of the Lord, that energy is all pervading. It is there in every nook and corner of the universe. And that is what we need to understand. And it is very simple to understand. We cannot limit the Lord. If the Lord, if you feel the Lord should not be limited by a form, then why are you limiting him and depriving him of a form also, right? If you see the Lord cannot be short of anything, then how is it that he is short of a form? So whichever way you argue, this it's very clear that the Lord has a perfect defined form. But at the same time, our logic doesn't work in that, that form, if it is XYZ size, then it cannot extend beyond that, is our experienced logic. But spirituality is not about experienced logic. It is beyond what you learn, beyond that in terms of what you understand through the technology of Vedic Parampara. So there it is very clearly given the same Lord can, when I say Lord, the Lord with the form, he can actually go beyond the limitation of the body. I will give you one simple example which is very relevant today. And Acharyas have written about that. We are all in the Damodar month. So in Damodar month, we all know Lord Krishna was bound up by Mother Yashoda. So in that process of trying to bind Lord Krishna, so Krishna is 3 years, 4 months and below. Maximum he would have been 3 years, 4 months. That is the time frame in which this Leela happened. So assuming he is 3 years plus or 3 years little less, whatever it is. Now that child, how big he can be? Assuming he's a fat child, he may be like 1 feet to 2 feet length in breadth. It could be the stomach area. So now this mother is trying to bind this child to the martyr, and the martyr is also not limitless. It has got a size. It can't be. It may be 2 feet wide. It may be 3 feet wide, whatever it is. And Krishna was put in front of that martyr, and Mother Sita is trying to bind him. Oh, sorry, Mother Yashoda is trying to bind him. I'm sorry. Mother Yashoda is trying to bind him. When she is trying to bind him, it is mentioned that she is not able to meet the two ends of the rope. Therefore, she is asking, bring some more rope, bring some more rope, bring some more rope. And she ties the ends of these ropes and tries to bind him. But again, it is explained there is a 2-finger gap. Now, how is it possible? Like if the Lord is a child here who's maybe 1 feet maximum of the entire waist length, waist breadth, how is it that you can't bind him with so much ropes also? So the question is there, Acharyas have explained very nicely that Krishna here is actually using the impersonal feature of him. So if you say impersonal feature, it is the size of the universe or bigger than the universe, where he is expanded all over the universe. Now, can you bind with a rope this entire universe? Is it sufficient that you have so much rope to bind it? Or even if you have so much of rope, is it possible because that universe continues to be expanding, expanding, expanding? So Krishna actually put in that energy because of which he was not able to cover his hip So this is very nicely explained, and people can relate. This is also logic. The person has a capability. He is using that capability to confuse the other person. So he is physically is there, but that impersonal feature of him is just taking over there. And that expansion is what she is trying to cover there, not his physical form. So that expansion she is not able to cover and meet the both ends to tie him up. And it is a subordinate feature of the Supreme Lord. Whenever he wants, he can exhibit it. Whenever he wants, he can withdraw it. So the devotees want him to withdraw that cover. Don't put that cover in front of me, Krishna. I am already confused. I am already running everywhere, not able to see you. Please remove this covering so that I can see your Shyam Sundara form. This is how that Acharya is singing. So we should be very fixed up in the Shyam Sundara form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, while at the same time clearly knowing that this Brahman feature of the Lord is subordinate to him and it is also spiritual. But at the same time, we are not getting awed by that because our focus is lost. We should go to the energetic, not energy is of course all empowering, all powerful, non-different from the energetic. But energetic is the source of the energy. So that is very important. And if we have that understanding, it is very easy to cross over. Otherwise, you have to first bring everything under control before you even come to that platform. And even that Krishna is saying, it is a lot of hard work to see me through this like impersonal feature. Very rarely anyone can come. He actually says after all that they only meet with defeat. So this is through speculative knowledge. This trying to see the Lord through the impersonal feature is speculative way of trying to attend him. But the other method, directly doing devotion, is so easy and very simple. Krishna says, he says you practice, but one who surrenders to me, he can easily cross over this nations and then he can see me. So this is very important that we should stick to this principle of wanting to see Krishna in a Shyam Sundara form, not in his Brahmajyoti form. So I will end here. If there are any questions or comments, welcome. So I think this picture actually talks about that the effulgence of the Lord, which is what the impersonalists are seeing here. What they see is this light. And beyond that light is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is what I think this picture is trying to depict. And because it is covering that back behind, who's behind, because of the effulgence, people end up seeing only this. And seeing that beyond this, there is nothing. But beyond this is the Supreme Personality of God. Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Yogamaya and Mahamaya is different identity, but their role is Yogamaya cover up Lord. She helps in the Leelas of Lord actually.
Yes.
And Mahamaya covers Jiva.
Yes.
That is the difference between, but otherwise they are both same.
Yes. So
you can explain actually. You can explain.
Yes. Okay. So Prabhu is talking about the two energies of the Lord. One is the Yoga Maya and the Mahamaya.
No, there was some question from some Mataji 2 days back.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So basically, as I said, there are this Brahman is actually an effulgence of the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, which sort of covers those which are in the material world. So that is the one energy of the Lord. The other energy of the Lord is actually that which is actually controlling the spiritual world. So in the spiritual world, what is controlling is actually the energy which is, in another sense, you can say it is direct control of the Lord over his devotees. There, they are not covered by this effulgence. Both are the energies of the Lord. But this energy is actually blinding them also, that they are not able to see the Supreme Lord, and as a result, they are sort of trying to enjoy material life in their own speculative ways. But there, they are able to directly see the hand of the Lord in the spiritual world, and they are able to be completely under his control. So this Yoga Maya and Mahamaya are two energies of the Lord, one controlling the spiritual world, one controlling the material world. And generally, people see the one controlling the material world in some form and shape as the Brahmajyoti. So, is that reasonably okay, Prabhu, whatever I explained?
Yeah, Prabhuji, after your explanation, we don't
Yes,
need an
yes,
explanation.
It's a full explanation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry
Thank
for
you.
taking some time, but I mean, since the question
No,
was
no,
asked,
sir.
thank you.
This is very nice. Actually, this is a very deep topic. The people have been arguing for millions of years on this topic. Why, in fact, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there in Varanasi and all, people have this kind of a concept that the Lord is like impersonal, and he debated for like 10 days, 15 days to beat up this, the philosophy. So this is not something which I can simply say, okay, now this is what it is. Do you get it? It is very difficult for anyone to get it. Only by the mercy of the spiritual master and the supreme personality of Godhead that we can actually even get a glimpse of the real Shyam Sundara. Otherwise, we are all put into that kind of a thing to believe, yeah, Krishna, yes, I know, but I see Krishna like this, I see Krishna like this. Slowly we get into this Mayavad philosophy also. So we need to be very careful. It is not easy. It is not a subject matter of 15 minutes discussion. It is a, lifelong journey. But then if you accept the Acharya's clarity on what they are saying and try to follow that, it becomes very simple, like a calf's footprint that is being mentioned like that. So that is important. Hare Krishna.